guys, ShadMD here. Hope you're doing well. Another fun video today. This is actually a bit unplanned and a little different from my weekly scheduled programming. I actually already uploaded my video for the week that's featuring this guitar actually. Some of the mods and things I did to that, check that out if you haven't. But this video, I just wanted to go over a topic that recently came up on the Gear Page forums, and a lot of people seem to be addressing it and going over, which was kind of surprising. I guess it went viral, but I wanted to put my own opinions on it because I think it's a little bit different from what a lot of folks are saying. Long story short, the basic story is that someone on the Gear Page was watching Coachella and noticed that the majority of the artists were playing Fenders, and there was very minimal, like little to no Gibson guitars being played on stage. And that brought up the topic that, is Gibson not popular among young musicians and younger fans, and is it going to basically die out with the newer generations? And is Gibson being sustained by the boomers and the lawyers and doctors? And I think honestly most of those claims are quite off base. I fully and wholly disagree with that. I have my reasons for that, which I'm going to get into, but I think Gibson as a brand is going to be just fine, and I don't think they're going to have issues with the newer generations. Part of that is my own story, and that's what I want to share. When I started playing guitar, I was in middle school. This was around 2004. I was absolutely hilariously clueless. I mean, I had, no kind of clue like what rock bands were big. I knew nothing about guitar brands or even rock music, none of that stuff. The reason I started playing was, honestly, as silly as it sounds, one of my friends had gone to Squire Electric and was learning some power chords, and I wanted to jam and play along with them. And when you're a younger kid and you see an electric guitar, that's like the coolest thing. You want to learn that. So I begged my parents for a guitar, and they were kind enough to get me a Squire Strat from a starter pack, thinking I was going to quit probably within a month or two, which obviously I didn't. But I got that, went to my first guitar lesson, and it's kind of embarrassing, and then my guitar teacher's like, "So, what do you want to learn?" And I looked at him like complete deer in the headlights and just like, what do you want to teach me? That's why I'm here. And he's like, "No, what do you like? What do you want to, what kind of music do you want to learn to play?" And I really didn't have much to draw from at that time. Let's see, I only knew like two rock bands, which was Green Day and Simple Plan. And that was pretty much it. The artists that were very popular at the time were Kelly Clarkson, American Idol, 50 Cent, hip hop. Not a lot of guitar, so I didn't know much. And so my guitar teacher's like, "All right, let's start with this." And he had I think it was an Eric Clapton CD at the time, and he put that in. And he's like, "All right, let's learn some hammer-ons and pull-offs and over some basic blues techniques." And I really liked that. I really enjoyed it. I was like, "Oh, this is cool. Eric Clapton's so cool." And I had such a blast learning those licks. And I ended up, kind of discovering more music on my own from that. I found I really, really loved Led Zeppelin and Jimmy Page, and he really sparked my excitement to play and get better at guitar. Even newer bands at the time like Evanescence, Linkin Park, I was paying more attention to the guitar in those songs and trying to learn that. And it just, really grew my love for guitar and rock music. And as that happened, and as I learned more and got exposed to more artists, I got more exposed to more brands, which kind of makes sense. I obviously learned about Gibson from Jimmy Page, and that made me want to Les Paul myself. But I also learned about Fender, I learned about PRS, I saw like Santana playing a PRS. I learned about all these different brands and what was out there. And the further I got into playing guitar, the more I discovered what I personally liked and wanted. And the kind of theme of that story is, if a completely clueless kid like me, who barely knew anything about rock music, nothing about guitar or any brands, could learn and discover Gibson and Fender and like all that stuff, any kid today can. And part of the reason I have an issue with this topic too is just because like Billie Eilish or The Weeknd or whoever is a Gibson or a Fender, I don't think it has much bearing on what their fans are going to play. Maybe a little bit. I mean, yeah, I wanted to Les Paul because Jimmy Page, but if you get exposed to a brand, you get exposed to a brand. And it doesn't take just one artist. If one of the fans from Coachella does decide to pick up guitar, they're gonna end up discovering guys like James Nichols maybe, or Marcus King, some of the other young new artists, and they'll see Gibson there and they're like, "Oh, maybe I'll give that a try." So I don't think, just because a couple main pop acts are playing Fenders at one festival, it means that Gibson is gone as a brand. I mean, I don't think there was a ton of PRS either, right? It was mostly Fenders. Does that mean PRS is dying? No. And they got John Mayer doing the Silver Sky thing. They're picking up popularity. The brands are out there, and anyone who gets into playing guitar is gonna get exposed to most of them one way or another. And depending on which artist they mesh with, which type of music they like, they'll end up gravitating towards a certain brand of guitar, and that's up to them. So I don't think, the future of Gibson is, kind of like gone or gonna die out. I think kids and younger generations are gonna discover Gibson just the same way I did. They're gonna want to play guitar, whoever inspires it, and they're gonna get into discovering more music, and eventually, because Gibson is so synonymous with rock, just as much as Fender, they'll get exposed to Gibson, as well as PRS, as well as everything else. I'm also gonna add that there are quite a few younger guitarists who do like Gibsons. I mean, just to name a few from YouTube, we have Red Shawl, we've got Trogley, we've got Agufish, we've got Stay Metal Ray, and myself included there. So I do think that Gibson has a younger following, and it's not just limited to older crowds, although they do have a fan base there as well. And not to mention some of the more famous artists like James Nichols, Marcus King, and many others. And actually, another thing I did want to add, everyone talks about how Gibson is not accessible. Here's the thing, when I was 15 or 16, yes, I could not afford a Gibson Les Paul. It was nowhere near my budget, and there's no way my parents were even gonna get that for me, but I can get this. And this got me into Les Pauls. This really, the shorter scale, the humbuckers, the shape, all of it. Maybe it wasn't Gibson, but it really sparked my love. Well, Jimmy Page kind of did that, but reinforced my love for Les Pauls and Gibson scale instruments. And funny enough, I'd say around my senior year of college, I kind of got tired of having Epiphone on the headstock. I wanted a proper Fender Gibson guitar. I came time to upgrade from this. And my options were, I think, some of the lower end Gibson faded models, like the Les Paul faded, which I didn't quite want. It was brown, just missing binding, had no finish on it. But the one that I was looking at was a Fender Tele, because for the same price, I could get a proper full-on American Standard Telecaster, used by the way, not new. But I noticed basically an American Standard Tele with proper full finish, paint job, everything. It was about the same cost as one of the Les Paul faded models. So I went with the Fender to try it out, and you've seen that Tele on my channel. I had that guitar for probably a good 5 years. I actually only just recently sold it, funny enough. But that guitar, I never bonded with. It was always a good guitar, I liked it, but it just never felt right. And I got my first Gibson guitar about a year ago now, just over a year ago, which was this, and I instantly bonded with this. It felt like home. And in hindsight, it kind of makes sense, because this is what I played for 7 years. This is what I learned most of my techniques and songs on. This was basically what, I grew up with. And so for me, the Gibsons felt right at home. And so I think with Epiphone, with some of the lower end Gibsons, they are just as accessible as a Fender. The Mexican Player Series Strat sells for $800 now. One of the limited edition colors on Guitar Center is $1,100. It's a Gibson faded, a Gibson Raven model is about the same price. So you can get Epiphone, you can get lower end Gibsons. There's so many options if you want a Les Paul or an SG within the similar price range to a Mexican Fender. I don't think that that's an issue. And it, obviously was an issue for me, because I was able to get this, and this still did the job of getting me into the brand. But that's just another thing I wanted to add. I think Gibsons are just as accessible for the people that really want them. One more thing I did want to mention, I think one thing Fender is doing that Gibson could probably do a little more is, I like that they got some younger talented artists in for signature guitars, like Tash Sultana, her. These are players I actually didn't know, but I discovered because of Fender making signature guitars for them, which was kind of cool. But I think it got some younger players and fans of their music to recognize Fender as a brand. And Fender Play was another great thing. It got a lot of new players who were just learning to recognize Fender as a brand. I know Gibson has an app with some lessons, but I don't think it's quite as extensive as Fender Play. But I think if Gibson did something kind of like that, there's obviously some amazing new talented young artists like Marcus King and James Nichols. Maybe make us, a few more signatures for them. I know James Nichols has some signature Epiphones which are awesome. So I think maybe give him a signature Gibson. I don't know, just a couple ideas. Might get the Gibson name out there, but really beyond that, I don't think Gibson has to change their formula or do anything crazy to, appeal to a younger audience. I think they'll be just fine. I mean, even look at Fender. Yeah, you saw them all over the stage, but other than the Fender Meteora, did they really make anything new or crazy or change drastically from the typical Fender formula? No, not really. They stuck to their stuff, but some people liked it, and people will like Gibsons too. Just a matter of taste and what you grow with. Anyways, that's my little rant. I will play out a little bit, and we'll call it a day. I'll have some more videos along the way, more demos, more fun covers. Definitely like and subscribe if you enjoyed those. I could be completely wrong, by the way. If you disagree, feel differently, let me know in the comments. I'm open to hear all the opinions. That's just my 2 cents in opinion on it. Obviously I'm not an expert on guitar sales or anything like that. Yeah, all right, let's just play out a little bit.